Well, members of the National Assembly are yet to shed the image of selfish leaders who collect hefty salaries and allowances cast on them by Nigerians, and now they are embarking on another journey to ignominy. A fresh move by the National Assembly to grant life pensions for its presiding officers like the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives has sparked outrage among civil society groups and some senior advocates. If passed by the legislature, the current Senate President, Ahmad Lawan, the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, and their deputies will get pensions after leaving office. BKO, it was first said that this idea was botched earlier on, not this present assembly, and that idea was discarded. Now we see it springing up again in this present National Assembly. Yes, there's been nationwide widespread condemnation, but what do you make of it, of this move?
I think it's extremely selfish. These guys had been doing their best to copy everything that the executive does. It shows clearly to Nigerians that what we have are self-serving leaders, people who hardly even care about the common man or even the common good. We live in perilous times. Government is finding it difficult to pay its bills. We are borrowing money from central bank to pay federal civil servants, and we call it ways and means and all sorts of funny names. Now these guys are trying to add to the national burden. When they came up with the idea of immunity for their principal officers, it was resisted, and ultimately the then President Goodluck Jonathan refused to give his assent. I think based on the advice of Mohammed Adoke, the Attorney General of the Federation, he refused to give his assent, so they don't have immunity, but they've been pushing hard for immunity, and I won't be surprised if before the end of the current dispensation, they eventually get immunity for their principal officers. But at a time when some state governors are even revoking the law giving former governors pension, giving hefty severance packages for former governors. We've seen Lagos put an end to it. We are now seeing the National Assembly trying to give this kind of pension to their principal officers. It's extremely shameful. And the interesting thing is, a lot of them, what will then happen is that these guys will be taking two pensions from two different sources. For example, someone was governor. If he was governor, let's even start with, if he was a public servant,
he's already on pension.
He quit the public service, maybe when he clocked the mandatory 60 years or 35 years of service, he quit and then joined politics, because that's usually what we see. After he joined politics, he became governor for 8 years. After 8 years, he got himself a hefty severance package, including pension. If you read some of what is stipulated in the severance document, you will see how wasteful and wicked our leaders can be. What they allocate to themselves, like houses in Abuja, foreign trips or medical treatment and all that, at the taxpayer's expense. Now, he gets that at state level and then goes to become
federal
lawmaker, as is usually their trajectory. He becomes federal lawmaker. Fortunately, he becomes a principal officer. We could be talking about triple pensions being taken by an individual. And that was why people complained about double pensions and all that back then. Because Saraki was no longer governor of Kwara, and he was taking, he was being paid from taxpayers' money in Lagos, in Kwara. And there was complaint at that time. Then eventually he directed them to stop paying him. I say what we are going through in our country, extremely selfish leaders. So this one now, I'm surprised because I thought this time around they will not even think about it because of what we are going through. We can't pay our bills. We are taking loans all over the place. We make so much noise about GDP, but our tax to revenue, what was it called?
Revenue. The reserves.
Tax. What's the language? Our
is it ratio?
Our debt ratio, debt to revenue ratio.
Yeah.
Is terrible.
Absolutely.
You have to. We shouldn't be talking about GDP to debt ratio. It should be
the income that is coming in,
revenue to debt ratio.
But the reverse is the case.
Yes, because is that one that will show to you whether you are capable of repaying.
How strong.
Because you will get to a point when you will even now be taking loans to pay your debt. So it should be debt to revenue ratio, not debt to GDP ratio. Because if you do that, you are deceiving yourself. So if in these lean times, I don't expect people truly love their country to be trying to add all kinds of burdens.
All right. Biko, let me put you on hold. Mr. Chote, so it's been said, Serap and many activists have called on the people to speak to their lawmakers, to speak out against this move, taking it home, and bringing it home, and calling on them to reverse this move. How far do you think this will go?
It's a good question. I'm afraid we may not. Well, it depends on those individuals in the National Assembly. It's not going to be because we stared them down. What I'm trying to say is this. There's a provision in the Constitution, for example, to recall members of National Assembly. There's a clear laid down procedure. When the people that you have elected into the National Assembly are not doing what you want, you get certain number of signatories of the constituents in that constituency, and then you make a recall. You bring them back out of the house, but because I'm not even sure a lot of us even know about these kind of things, so they just get away with practically any. If it is true that a senator in Nigeria is going home with 353 million naira per annum, if that is true, isn't that enough for you to just by the time your time is over, you just go away? Now you want to be collecting pension, life pension. BK who doesn't know, there's somebody who was a retired military officer, who was a minister of communication, who was two-time governor, who was Senate president. Which one will he now be collecting?
Or which one will he not be collecting?
Which one will he reject?
Will he reject?
Because he will certainly take that of the army.
Do you understand?
I'm sure he still takes that of the army.
You
left as a general.
You just look at people who do not even seem to understand what they are elected to do.
Can we even make this lawmaking thing
part-time?
Yes. Because it used to be like that.
Then why can't we even have one chamber? Why do we need Senate and House of Rep? What is the purpose of? They are just
look at what the president of Senegal did. He came into office and he said, look, the difficult times that we have found ourselves, do not encourage bicameral legislature. Yeah. And they decided to scrap
what are
the Senate.
They doing anyway? They just
scrap the Senate. We can just have one of them.
Let them go away.
I think Okorocha too said this sometimes, that we don't need those many people, bicameral legislature, that just one is enough.
Some people are calling themselves GSM now, governor, senator, minister, because they will have taken all those three. Yes. I mean, look, it's sickening. Let's just...
It's like a status symbol now.
Yes.
But BKO, about the options that the people have, do we even have what it takes to utilize this power, even moving beyond moves like this, you know, at the National Assembly to curb excesses of our lawmakers?
If it's to recall lawmakers, all of the occasions that we tried to do it in Nigeria, it failed. During the Obasanjo regime, the people of Plateau State tried to recall one of their senators at that time, who was deputy Senate president, because there was a communal crisis and he was accused of not supporting the interests of his people. Of course, the INEC at that time, because it's INEC that will supervise the exercise. Yeah. And seeing the body language of the president, INEC rigged that process. So the people, despite overwhelmingly deciding that they wanted to recall that senator, he's dead now, they couldn't do it. The last one that I recall was when Governor Yabelo tried to get Dino Melaye recalled. Of course, at that time, Dino was popular with the people, and the people came out, voted in his support. So they had no choice; they had to leave him alone. You know, so that's the. Those are the two occasions that I.
So that's why I said that.
Present realities.
We can only depend on their conscience.